Hello everybody and welcome to Silverstone as we are getting underway with qualifying for the 9th race of the International GTOpen season. After a near enough 2-month summer break, we are now heading towards the business end of the season. Just 6 races remain and a brace of them here over the next 2 days at the home of the British Grand Prix, the Silverstone circuit. So it's a very warm welcome from myself, Ben Evans, as you join us on a beautiful late summer, early autumn day here in the Buckinghamshire, Northamptonshire countryside. And it's a very warm welcome back to the championship for the Solaris Racing Aston Martin team. Francesco Cini at the wheel for this 30-minute qualifying session, which will set the grid for the first race of the weekend. The Solaris team who skipped the Hungaroring round to sort out some lingering technical issues. That has been well and truly resolved, and now they are back with a bang here for the remainder of the season. So with 30 minutes of track time to play with, we can expect to see a very entertaining and topsy-turvy session, as befits what has been an absolutely thrilling season so far, and the championship fight is as close as you like. Currently at the top of the standings, it is Giovanni Venturini and Thomas Biaggi in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini on 60 points, with second in the standings and tied on points, Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack in the 488 Spirit of Race Ferrari. Third in the championship, just 2 points back, it's the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW of Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda. And then just 9 points off the pace, it's Albert Costa and Philip Frommenwieler in the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. With then Dominic Farnbacher fifth in the standings on 46 points, and so still very much in contact. But it's all change at the very top of the standings in the way that the Imperiale Racing are going about this weekend. So their car of Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione, number 23, that remains as ever was. But then we have got a split entry now for Biaggi and Venturini. So Thomas Biaggi this weekend is partnered by Raffaele Giammaria, one of the most successful drivers in the history of the International GTOpen Championship. Giammaria is celebrating his birthday yesterday. But it is reigning champion Thomas Biaggi who is out in this qualifying session. Meanwhile, Giovanni Venturini is going to be partnered by Marco Mappelli, who we last saw in the championship back in 2012 in the Vallorba course Aston Martin. And it is going to be Marco Mappelli who takes to the track for this session. Now here is one of the drivers who is very hotly tipped for pole position this morning. It's home favourite Tom Onslow-Cole in the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Onslow-Cole, who got married during the course of the summer break, was deep in conversation in the Triple F Lamborghini garage was Vitantonio Liuzzi and Andrea Caldarelli, whereas Hiroshi Hamaguchi is actually going to be driving the session, waits to get into the car. There is the Kaspersky Ferrari of Alex Moisev, which he will partner one of the preeminent GTM pairings alongside Davide Rizzo. A couple of other entries to bring up speed with for this weekend, so they're both potentially very significant ones, is that Lee Mole has entered a Mercedes, which has got Phil Keane and Ryan Ratcliffe at the wheel. Phil Keane needing little introduction, having been so successful alongside Sean Balfe last year in the championship. And then we also have, slighted to say, the return of the Wessex Automotive Lamborghini, and Craig Dolby this time is going to be partnered by Ricky Christodoulou, so an all-British and very competitive driver lineup, with the squad looking to maybe recapture victory as they did at the Silverstone round last year. So very, very strong entry list this weekend. We are missing Michael Benham and Duncan Tappy because Mike Benham, who was expecting a new addition to the Benham family to arrive ahead of the Silverstone round, as is so often the case, things not going entirely scheduled. So Mike Benham, totally understandably staying home this weekend, and the very best wishes going for everybody in the paddock to Mike and his family, and hope that everything works out very well for you, as Lorenzo Beirao de Viega this weekend, partnered by Antonio Felix da Costa in the Martin Motorsport BMW. Berardo Veiga, who, if it wasn't for bad luck, would have pretty much had none at all this year, but has had some spectacular co-drivers in the form of Tiago Monteiro, Nelson Piquet, Augusto Farfus, and returning to the seat this weekend, Antonio Felix da Costa, who we last saw in action in the car in Estoril at the start of the season. And this is a track that possibly could really suit the BMW, a chance for it to really unwind the throttle. So very varied and competitive entry list. And immediately going out and flying is Albert Costa in the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. Costa, who won 2 of the first 3 races of the campaign alongside Philip Fromenvila, a driver who knows the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit very well from racing here in the World Series by Renault, particularly en route to the 2009 Renault 2-litre Championship. And he has posted a time of 1 minute 58.486, and that is, I'd suggest, immediately a very, very competitive time. For reference, yesterday it was the Raton Racing Lamborghini which set the fastest time of the day, which was a 1 minute 59.8. So immediately, as the track has rubbered in a little bit, Albert Costa setting an early benchmark. Lorenzo Berardo Veiga then currently second, a 1 minute 59.2. Third is Francesco Cini. Fourth is Marco Ciocci, and Ciocci the first of the Pro-Am entries. And then fifth, Rob Bell in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren, the second of the Pro-Am entries. And it was interesting talking to Marco earlier on today, because as we get towards the latter stage of the season, 6 races to run, 2 here at Silverstone, 2 at the end of the month, start of October in Monza, and then the end of October in Barcelona, Catalunya. Championship points are everything, and therefore in the Pro-Am Championship, Ciocci has concentrated on an outright race result as he is on beating Rob Bell and others in the class. Tom Onslow Cole goes second to 1 minute 58.483, as you saw that Costa was a little bit balked towards the end of that lap. Nonetheless, a 1 minute 57.765 for Albert Costa. So he improved his time. He's pursuing the Spirit of Race Ferrari of Miguel Ramos. There is Ramos, who has won once this year. That came in race 1. Paul Ricard would have won at the Hungaroring in race 1, but for a late tangle with the FF Course Ferrari. And Albert Costa pushing hard in the Lexus early in the session. Now there you see, with a slight flash of headlights, that's one of the preeminent GTOpen runners, Miguel Sardinia, in Sporting U Mercedes, and just behind him is Tom Onslow Cole. So what can Onslow Cole do? The SPS Mercedes has been getting better and better as the season has unfolded, and Onslow Cole's co-pilot, Valentin Pierberg, getting closer and closer to the pace. But this is going to be a slightly traffic-interrupted lap. It's Ivor Dunbar in the FF Course Ferrari, who is the first car for the Mercedes to try and clear. And Onslow Cole not able to do that on the brakes into Village, instead he backs right out of it. And so, although having set a good first sector, some 3 seconds out through the second sector, still got quite a few cars yet to join the session, but that is often the case. They include Victor Bouvin, currently third in the standings. Thomas Biaggi, the championship leader, has only just ventured out onto the track. And also, well worth watching for the progress of Jordan Witt at the wheel of the Jordan Racing Bentley. Here, Michael Meadows have been getting steadily quicker as seasons unfold. Now that is not ideal for Marcello Hahn. You can see the front of the Drovex Mercedes possibly looking to make a bid for freedom and out into the Buckinghamshire countryside. As the wind begins to get underneath that, there is a possibility it may spring up, so I'd imagine that he is going to be ducking into the pits at the end of this lap. Up into third already has gone Marco Mappelli, immediately straight onto the pace on his return to the championship, a 1 minute 59.0, his first flying lap in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Then Mario Farnbacher in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus goes fourth. Lorenzo Berardo Viega to 5th. Marco Ciocci is in 6th. Francesco Cini 7th. Rob Bell 8th. Quali Liberati in 9th. And Miguel Ramos completes the top 10. So here is Andrea Fontana, wheel of another of the Imperiale Lamborghinis. Fontana and Vito Postiglione have been there or thereabouts all year. They've had 2 podium finishes in the last 3 races. And it feels like it's only a short amount of time before they get released to a race win. Other drivers to watch for challenging for pole in this session, surely going to be Phil Keane at the wheel of the Lee Mole entered Mercedes, who's just headed out of the pits. And maybe Victor Bouveng. The other car we've not seen yet onto the track in this session is another of the Pro-Am Championship challengers. That's Alex West in the sole Garage 59 McLaren this weekend, with Mike Benham being elsewhere on husband and father duty. So down the Wellington Straight. For Andrea Fontana. On the brakes into Brooklands. Next lap will be a flying lap. Now the driver who is going really well on this lap is Mario Farnbacher. There you can see his ticker at the foot of your screen. And Farnbacher is a couple of seconds behind the Lamborghini on the road. So across the line goes Fontana and Farnbacher. Let's have a look into the background, waiting for the Farnbacher Lexus. Here he comes. And across the line comes Mario Farnbacher, goes 3rd, a 1:58.8 for the German in the Lexus. And it was the Lexus entries which shared the victories. Estoril and Paul Ricard at the start, and Spa rather, at the start of the season. 2 wins apiece for the Farnbacher and Imran Frey Racing cars. Thereafter, it's been somewhat slimmer pickings in Paul Ricard and the Hungaro ring. Lexus now potentially relishing the Silverstone circuit in the way that it did at Spa-Francorchamps. Albert Costa in pole, Farnbacher in 3rd. Tom Onslow-Cole currently splitting them. Another driver who's out immediately on the pace is Craig Dolby. He's just gone into 7th position. It's Andrea Fontana. Through the first sector from Fontana, it was his personal best, but it wasn't a particularly quick sector as he's essentially on his first flying lap of the session. So the top 10 currently Albert Costa, Tom Onslow-Cole, Mario Farnbacher, Marco Mappelli, Lorenzo Berardo Viega, Marco Ciocci 6th, 7th is Craig Dolby, 8th Francesco Cini, 9th Rob Bell, and 10th Thomas Biaggi. Are approaching the halfway point already of the session. 16.5 minutes to go. And the varying strategies for the session starting to come to the fore. We're still yet to see Victor Bouveng venturing onto the circuit. Jordan Witt has just headed out. Alex West has just completed his initial outlap. Now, another driver who is on potentially a very good lap here is Craig Dolby in the Wessex Lamborghini. Dolby has just done personal bests through sectors 1 and 2. It was Andrea Fontana's first effort, good enough to get him up into 12th place. Now here is another of the Imperiale Lamborghinis. This is the #1 car of Thomas Biaggi, joint championship leader alongside Giovanni Venturini. Biaggi, the reigning international GTOpen champion, multiple world GT champion, going back a couple of years ago. As Biaggi accelerates through, this may be an improvement. We will see. It's an improved time, not an improved position. He goes 9th. Craig Dolby, meanwhile, has gone 4th with a 1:59.004. So the Lamborghini's flying, and this is Multimark Racing at its very best. We've got a Lexus on pole. There is Dolby, sliding past Ivor Dunbar. We've got a Lexus on pole, Mercedes 2nd, Lexus 3rd, Lamborghini 4th, Lamborghini 5th, BMW 6th, Ferrari 7th, Aston Martin 8th, Lamborghini 9th, and McLaren in 10th place. There's Dolby into Stowe. He's got Ivor Dunbar running behind him in the FF Course Ferrari. It's Craig Dolby, accelerates out of Stowe. And I think he lost a little bit of time, possibly, on that occasion, behind Ivor Dunbar, because that first sector somewhat slower. The Wessex Vehicles Lamborghini, very nicely prepared car, really fun, friendly team as well. Biaggi also just caught behind Dunbar, so we're not seeing much in the way of an improvement from most people on this lap. Alex Moisev has just done a good lap though to go 19th, although it's Miguel Sardinia who currently heads the GTOpen class in 15th overall, with Alexander Fraquina, the second of the GTOpen runners, in 17th, and then Moisev third in the GTOpen class in 19th. Still just Victor Bouveng, who we've not yet seen, and a lot of the early front runners in the pits, but Marco Mappelli is on an out lap. See what he can do in the third of the Imperial LA Lamborghinis. Thomas Biaggi, we follow now, continues to circulate in 9th. This lap unlikely to represent much of an improvement. Now here's Jordan Witt in the Jordan Racing Bentley, and Witt, this his first flying lap of the session. The Bentley, a car that's been getting quicker and quicker as the year's gone on. And for Jordan Witt, he's now got the benefit of a circuit that he knows well from his time racing in various national categories in the UK. As Witt goes through, immediately up into 13th position. But Jordan Witt and Michael Meadows could well challenge for both Pro-Am and potentially overall podium honours this afternoon. As he gets the power down, accelerates out of Copse, and then flies into Maggots and Beckett. Eats the curbs before just setting up for Chapel Curve. All runs a little bit wide, very wide there for Jordan Witt. He keeps his foot in though as he hurtles on to the hangar straight. He has got Marcio Basso and Hiroshi Hamaguchi ahead of him. Flashes his headlights just to make them aware that he is en route. Not surprising after that slightly grassy moment at Chapel, he's lost a little bit of time through this first sector. Here's another look at it. Carries so much speed through Beckett's, but then as he gets onto the brakes where he just needs to set the car up for Chapel Curve, a little bit too much speed. You can see it understeering and then out onto the grass. Miguel Ramos, meanwhile, has just posted his best lap of the session, and Ramos up into 13th, demotes Jordan Witt to 14th. But Albert Costa still pace setter, as he has been since the very early stages of the session. The Emil Frey Racing squad chasing their third victory of the season, and a win today will, depending on what others do, potentially be enough to propel Costa and Fromenvila back to the top of the championship standings. So into the pits goes Thomas Biaggi. Tom Onslow Cole has just ventured out of the pits, so he is going to be shortly embarking on a quick lap. Marco Mappelli already on one, as Jordan Witt comes to the end of what I think is a lap he's backed out of, but he can now pick it up again in the Bentley and press onwards. And that lap for Jordan Witt, yeah, just a little bit adrift of his best. So emerging, Lorenco Bear out to Viega, Victor Bouveng as well out on track now. Here is Marco Mappelli. This is the man we were hoping to see. And you can see he uses every inch of the road as he comes out of farm on the brakes into village. And then into the left-hand kink at the loop. Around he turns, picks up the throttle, uses every inch of the road. They've got to be careful with track limits. We have a couple of drivers losing their best times, as Mappelli sets the fastest middle sector of anybody of the session so far. Blasts past Bouveng, gets on the brakes for Brooklands. Necessarily a tight line. He's going to be closing up onto Rob Bell in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren, as again he bites some curbs, and that's why there's been a moment behind. It's Miguel Sardinia in the Sporting New Mercedes off at Luffield. He ducks into the pit lane. Marco Mappelli crosses the line, goes second, a 1:57.977. The question mark there, though, is that he did have all four wheels over the white line as he came out of Aintree. Whether or not that will result in a penalty, we will see in due course. So the order is now Costa, Mapelli, Onslow Cole third, Farnbacker fourth, Craig Dolby's fifth, sixth Lorenzo Barao de Viega, seventh Marco Ciocci, eighth is Francesco Cini, ninth Thomas Biaggi, and Rob Bell completes top 10. There is Phil Keane in the Mercedes, currently in 15th position, but I think we can expect to see Phil getting a little bit higher up the order. He's on an outlap as well. Some squeals of tyres through Stowe. Miguel Ramos also trying to press on in the spirit of race Ferrari. So the session still has got just under a third to run. 9 minutes left on the clock. And the great unknown in these qualifying sessions is what each of the teams decides to do with their tyres, because they get 16 new Michelin tyres to use each weekend. It's the control compound of the championship, but that's got to get them through both qualifying sessions and both races. So you could burn through some sets of tyres in qualifying for track position, but that then could leave you exposed later on in the races, or you settle for a midfield qualifying position and then press on in the races. You've got fresher rubber later on. So those are all the different factors to consider. Now, Victor Bouveng is potentially on a reasonably good lap here. His first flying lap of the session in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW, driver who's currently third in the championship standings. Waiting for him to complete his first flying lap. Tom Onslow Cole, another driver who's on a good lap. Onslow Cole actually potentially, as we saw him then, on a very good lap. There's the Raton Racing Lamborghini of Eduardo Liberati, the quickest car in free practice yesterday. Liberati and Kang Ling been figuring more and more in the top 10 fights as the season's unfolded. And this, a good lap for Liberati so far. He's gone and done his personal best first sector. Sets the car up nicely on the brakes into Village. Comes towards the end of the second sector as he accelerates out of the loop, which he will do now. See what Liberati, and his best middle sector of the session as well. So this should be enough to propel Eduardo Liberati into the top 10, potentially towards the top half of the top 10 at that, as he squirts on the throttle, turns in to Luffield, navigates the right-hander, now applies the throttle, runs a little bit wide, coming out of Luffield towards Woodcote, out to break the timing beam. And Liberati, a 1 minute 59.4, an improved time, but actually he misses out on improved grid position by 37 thousandths of a second. So he remains in 12th, just behind Victor Bouveng, who went 11th on his first flying lap. The order is Albert Costa still in pole. Second, Marco Mapelli, 2 tenths back. Tom Onslow Cole has just improved his time, but remains in third. He's half a second off pole. Mario Farnbacker is fourth, the second adrift to pole position from Lorenzo Barao de Viega in fifth. Craig Dolby in sixth. Marco Ciocci is seventh. Francesco Cini in eighth. As Jordan Witt has done all he could do in the Jordan Racing Bentley. Debriefs the team, and there is Miguel Ramos running slowly, and then picks up the throttle into Luffield. So that, he will hope, has bought him a little bit of track space rather. Ramos second in the championship, tied on points with the championship leaders Biaggi and Venturini. Accelerates through now into Copse Corner. 14th in this session. He needs to find 2.5 seconds for pole position, but really needs to find 1.5 seconds to get into the top 3 or 4 rows on the grid. So that's his exam question. He's got Rob Bell up the road ahead of him. Bell, who's just done his personal best of the session to go 7th in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren. That is the second the Pro-Am cars. In fact, that was Ciocci in the Ferrari. But Bell has improved. So the Pro-Am classification is Tom Onslow Cole from Rob Bell, then Marco Ciocci. The GT-Am classification is Miguel Sardinia from Alex Moisev, and then Alexander Fraquina. Vigo Ramos out of Stowe. Now that, to me, looks like he's possibly backed out of this lap as well. Indeed he has. He allows Thomas Biaggi to slide past him. Marco Mapelli on another quick lap here. Just posting his best through sector 1. Not quite as quick through sector 2. Thomas Biaggi, he's on an out lap. And he's just got 4 minutes to play with. Victor Bouveng, another driver looking to make improvements. This has been really a tantalising qualifying session because the order has never appeared certain. That early benchmark set by Albert Costa, who spent the last 16.5 minutes in the pits, having clearly felt he's done his job in the Emil Frey Racing Lexus, set the mark and letting the others to try and come at him. Mapelli has struggled to improve his time, a 1 minute 58.1, as opposed to 1 minute 57.9, which has been his best. Change for fourth, though. Rob Bell goes up to the second row of the grid, a 1 minute 58.6 for Bell. 9/10 shy of pole position, but a really impressive lap from the McLaren. So it's an all-British, all-Pro-Am row 2. Onslow Colston in third, Rob Bell in fourth. Shuffles Mario Farnback to fifth. Victor Bouveng's just gone to sixth in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW, 1 minute 58.9. And that means he pips teammate Lorenzo Berau de Viega by 24 thousandths of a second for sixth position. Craig Dolby consequently gets shuffled into 8th place. Marco Ciocci in 9th. And now it changes once more because Phil Keane goes into 6th position in the Mercedes, a 1 minute 58.8. So Keane goes 6th. And that means that Francesco Cini slides out of the top 10. It also means the driver we're watching, Thomas Biaggi, now slumps into 12th. So here is Rob Bell. And Bell's on another good lap in the McLaren. Coming towards the end of the second sector, you could just see how late Rob Bell was braking into Village. And then the left-hander at loop. Come on, Rob, get the power as early as you dare. Through the second sector, giving away a little bit, 52.3. Can see Bouveng up the road ahead of him. And whether or not Rob Bell's going to come through and complete this lap, I'm not sure it's going to give him the improvement he wants. He heads around Luffield, accelerates on his way. He's going to conclude the lap with just under 2 minutes left in the session. So he starts what will invariably be the last lap of the session for the McLaren, and it is a 1 minute 59.1, so not quite an improvement for Rob Bell, who is potentially improving. Well, Lorenzo Berau de Viega has just done a good trip through his first sector. Phil Keane not improving on this lap, nor is Onslow Cole. And this has been really interesting in terms of the Michelin tyre would appear to be only giving some of the marks just one lap of peak performance in this session, plus with 24 cars circulating. Traffic has been a little bit of a challenge as well. So as a result, we're going to get a grid that's possibly not altogether indicative of how the race is going to unfold. Victor Bouveng, potentially still on course for quite a good lap. Thomas Biaggi up into the top 10. He's just improved, looking to improve again. Mario and Dominic Farnbacker watch on from the Farnbacker Racing pit box. 5th place looking likely for them as the clock ticks downward. Just under 30 seconds left on the clock, so everybody starting their last lap of the session. The only, I think, worries for the Farnbackers may be Victor Bouveng. It's not going to be Marco Ciocci, who has a huge moment in the AF Course Ferrari. Proves the Ferrari 488 is a far better race car than his lawnmower. Also shows just how hard Ciocci was pushing. So he's going to bring that car back to the pits. 3rd, nonetheless, in the Pro-Am class. Looking likely for Ciocci. Victor Bouvet, meanwhile, has come through to take the flag. Didn't improve from his 7th position. So the only question now is really whether or not Thomas Biaggi is going to improve through the final sector, because otherwise the order looks like it is going to be settled. Into the pits comes Rob Bell. Good job for the Balfe McLaren team, nonetheless. Celebration for Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvila. Albert Costa only doing 4 laps in the session, just 2 flying laps, but enough to take pole position, and comfortably so. So he celebrates with the rest of the Emil Frey Racing Lexus team. Thomas Biaggi did improve his time on that last lap, but he didn't improve position, so he was good for 10th. So the provisional classification then is Albert Costa in pole position. 2nd place to Marco Mappelli, the first of the 3 Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis. 3rd for Tom Onslow Cole, the SPS Automotive Mercedes. 4th, Phil Keane, and Lee Mole entered Mercedes. 5th for Rob Bell in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren. 6th, Mario Farnbacher in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus. 7th, Victor Bouvet in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, and he shares the 4th row with teammate Lorenco Beirao de Viega. 9th place to Craig Dolby, the Wessex Lamborghini, and 10th, Thomas Biaggi. 11th for Marco Ciocci, 12th, Francesco Cini. 13th, Eduardo Liberati from Andrea Fontana in 14th. Miguel Ramos, a lot to do from 15th for he and Mikel Mack this afternoon. 16th to Jordan Witt in the Bentley. 17th and GTM pole honours to Miguel Sardina in the Sporting Mercedes ahead of Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Triple F Racing Lamborghini. Alex West in the Garage 59 McLaren in 19th. From Alex Moisev in 20th. Alexander Traquina was 21st. And then Marcio Basso, Ivor Dunbar, and then Marcello Hahn, who had the mechanical issues with the Drevex Mercedes. And so as a result, he pitted in early on, didn't really get the chance to do an indicative flying lap. So run down the times then, and Albert Costa, he is going to be the man to beat this afternoon, but we are in for an absolutely fascinating race with 3 very quick British drivers lining up from 3rd to 5th, and then Mario Farnbacher in 6th position in pursuit of his 3rd victory of the season, ahead of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMWs, both of which have got superb whole race pace, and then a brace of Lamborghinis to round out the top 10 with Craig Dolby and Thomas Biaggi. Marco Ciocci should never be discounted in the Ferrari. He'll start in 11th ahead of Francesco Cini, making a welcome return in the Solaris Motorsport Aston Martin. And Eduardo Liberati in 13th, alongside Andrea Fontana. Miguel Ramos tied in points at the top of the standings. What can he and Mikel Mack do from 15th? And then Marcello Hahn completes the field. Racing will get underway at just about 3:15 British time this afternoon. Make sure you watch live on GTOpen.net and all the usual broadcasters. Until then, from Ben Evans, it's goodbye from Silverstone.